Semi-final number 2 is about to kick off here for the Overwatch Open. This is just the European region, mind you. We've got a final to look forward to, and then North America on the precipice as well. But first, we have to address our second semi-final, and thank you for staying patient with us, resolving everything to make sure we can bring you this show in all beautiful, glorious, perfect quality. I've got myself, DDK, and Jerosa to be casting this one, and we're going to be quickly chatting about how this one is going to be playing out. But gentlemen, you're still here in your slightly matching shirts. They've corrected me. It is slightly blue for DDK. And our next one is it's an interesting semi-final. We have Creation going up against Misfits. Now, we haven't had the opportunity to broadcast Creation yet. However, a team that anybody that's been following competitive Overwatch will be familiar with. So I think we'll start with them, John. You've casted them before. At least you've seen some of their games before. What would you highlight as a strength for Creation?
I think Creation have traditionally had really, really good team comms. So I had the benefit of actually standing in the room while all 6 of the players were scrimming at Takeover, which was really cool. I believe at one point they lost a match to Rogue, and more or less the foundations of the building started shaking because they were just so loud when they were screaming at each other. It was incredible. But they were very good at shot calling. And contrary to a lot of teams where a lot of the support players might be calling the shots and like who to focus down and where we should be directing our fire, Numlocked is actually someone who calls a lot of the direction of where they're going as well. So, and he plays their main tank. So it's particularly interesting to see what they're going to be doing here.
You know what's particularly interesting as well is I just want to make sure we can highlight this while it's on screen. This is the map pool.
Excellent.
It's up on screen, mate.
Here we go.
It's happening for the first time. It took us a while.
Yeah. And we're getting it in
King of the Hill.
doubling down on the King of the Hill scene. We've got, of course, Nepal and Li Jiang. Are we going to get to King's Row even, I wonder?
It's crazy.
I actually don't know, because traditionally teams that really like pushing the payload maps, if they lose and they go, uh-oh, we need to switch things up here, they go to King of the Hill. No one hates King of the Hill. It's just that payload is quote-unquote more standard.
Sure.
So the fact that both teams are like, yeah, I'm leaving 2 King of the Hill maps in the map pool is making me go, interesting.
And didn't we highlight yesterday, in fact, I'm not sure which one of you it was, that King of the Hill often caters to the individual more, you know, your individual players. And so then I start asking you, we saw MISFITS yesterday, did they look like a unit, or was there some individual names? Like, we can't stop singing the praises of the likes of Cypher over on Anox. We keep talking about how they rely on one individual. Is there a similar story for
Just
Misfits?
a quick point about Anox. I've been made aware that they are actually boot camping right now, so that could all in a team house together. So just
okay, they're pulling an envy.
Yep.
Pulling an envy. That's what I'm calling it.
I hear that's a pretty strong play.
Yeah. You know what?
Based on where it got envy, I think that's a pretty good idea right about now.
Yeah.
In short,
which it has to be because I think these guys are raring to go.
No. I think both of these teams are actually really quite well known for being able to gel together and push forward as a team. I think it's entirely possible that 1 or 2 DPS players rise above and get crazy numbers of kills, but they're not traditionally known for that now. They're not like the Cypher and the Anox. They're just very good at gelling together.
So this does seem like it's not as clear-cut, and I'm not going to start probing for predictions because it still, at this point in time, is often a coin flip, or often it comes down. It's not something that we can easily gauge. I do want to talk about Creation and a couple of their individuals hailing from enemy territory. I know that I personally never played the game, but I do know it was a very competitive battleground. I know Linkser was a big name within that, and we're going to be seeing him playing today. So it's always fun. I do think, like, especially when we start these casters, it's fun to highlight what the origins of these players. I got, a bit excited about the COD 4 Pro Mod guys. We've got Quakers. We have now seen an enemy territory cropping up. We get to see what Linkser can do, and I'm sure there's other names alongside them. You mentioned Numlocked as well. Is a name that people will be familiar with.
Yeah, and you're going to be particularly pleased to know that Linkser has a little bit of a reputation on Genji. So if we are going to see some like super nostalgic hype and we see some excellent Genji play, it could well be coming from his direction.
Oh, okay. Well, that does get me excited. I do also want to highlight what this is all about. So this is the second semi-final for our first Overwatch Open day, or rather a weekend. We're heading towards the playoffs, and of course, the winner of the final today will secure that spot in the playoffs, getting ever closer to $300,000 prize pool and a trip, of course, to Atlanta for TBS. So that's awesome, and I'm just hearing, this is hilarious.
No way.
Did you guys hear this?
No way.
Apparently, what we're waiting for...
Where is it? Where is it? Where is it?
I don't think
I'll see you
nearby.
later.
So apparently the reason we're waiting, I'm spitting everywhere, the reason we're waiting is because a player has left his house to catch a Pokemon.
This better be worth it. I want to.
It better be a good Pokemon.
It better be like a It better be. It's not a
Ghastly?
Ghastly. It isn't. Production, did you just say that was a Ghastly? Who's the player? Can they forfeit and play 6v5. That's actually... if it was like a 2000 Dragonite, I'd be like, yeah, all right,
no
we have
idea.
a point.
You're talking like hieroglyphics right now. I don't... I mean, we went for a walk, didn't we, Dan, with John? We went for a walk around the local area.
That's fair, guys. The 6 nice, but we didn't realize that his ulterior motive was to catch Pokemon. Or actually,
it's like, yeah, let's take a left in this park. We're like, oh, John, where do you want to go? Oh, this looks nice, actually. Good. How did you find this place? Oh, there's a gym nearby.
I may have held that gym this morning.
Oh, congratulations.
Maybe.
I'm really happy for you. We are talking about Pokemon. I wanted to get back on track. The point I was trying to make was that the grand finalists are a very exciting premise. Anox, who their route couldn't have been really much more difficult. Admittedly, they didn't bump into any North Americans, but in terms of Europe, they're beating number 3 in the world, number 7 in the world. Of course, Reunited was their first task, and then they walked through Rogue as well. I say walk through, another 2-0. They haven't conceded a map yet, which is kind of crazy, and we'll be seeing if they do so in that grand final. But who's going to join them? Creation and Misfits, and I'm hearing now Skipjack was the man who has gone hunting a Ghastly. Now, you were talking in the green room about, John, you were talking about Skipjack and his proficiency with Reinhardt.
Yes.
How does he kind of fall amongst the pack?
I think Skipjack is one of the strongest tank players in the world. Definitely in EU, and he's right up there. He's very good at communicating with the rest of his team, but most importantly, even when he's not communicating, he's very good at anticipating threats that might be coming from behind. So a lot of the plays where you see other teams sneaking up behind and taking out a critical Reinhardt or a Zarya or something like that, Skipjack is very good at anticipating those moves, spotting which players he hasn't actually seen from his tank position once in a while, and then going, guys, make sure we watch out for this. So he's very good at that.
Now, Dan, this is a point that I think needs to be made on stream, is that, you know, it's easy for someone at home who's played a couple of casual games or who's yet to kind of delve into competitive to think that the tank role can be, and I'm going to do, hang on, let me warm my fingers up, boring or easy, because of course, you know, so they just consider the Mr. Right Click or whatever it is for Reinhardt. There's a lot more to this class, and there's a lot more to that divides a bad from a good tank.
And well, that's also the thing, is that in a lot of commentary, I think you were talking about this with John just yesterday. Sometimes you've got to give the supports love, and that's often why people don't want to play the supports, is because you're not in the action, you're not in the mix, you're not the guy that gets the flashy highlight reels, essentially. But it is incredibly rewarding within a team environment where you realize that your job is so incredibly make or break.
Integral.
And often with the supports, the anticipation, the game sense in that spot, being able to anticipate what play is, you know, what's the biggest weakness? How can this mess up the most? This is actually a common thing that you'll have in any sport. If you find yourself in an advantage, or you're looking to make a play, you always have to think, what is the one way that the other team, or what would be the strongest thing for the other team to do to disrupt what we're doing right now, and what would make sense in the current context. And with the pace of a game like this, that's very hard to do that, because you only really maybe get 1 or 2 choices, and time is always of the essence, so you can't really dilly-dally and mess around.
It's like split-second decision-making.
Absolutely, and that comes to experience, but also just great intuition from someone that's very game smart, and that's something that can't be fully taught.
Evidently, Skipjack is not Pokemon Go's game smart, because he's gone hunting a Ghastly and did delay this game. Fortunately, he is back in his seat and the game is starting. To King of the Hills. It's going to be weird. I don't even know if we're going to see that King's Row, you know, gents. I think we may very well just see 2 very chaotic KOTH.
It's entirely possible. It also throws a lot of the quote-unquote playbook out the window. So it could be very interesting. At the end of the day, Reinhardt looks in one direction, and it can be rather awkward on a King of the Hill map. We will see. We're going to be starting off the action on Nepal. So very interesting to see how the teams are going to be functioning there, and in fact what the team compositions are going to be. This is one of the first times we've seen Creation Esports post-patch as well. So even the team comp isn't entirely certain at this point.
Absolutely, and I just had the thought, this map is incredibly blue. I'd definitely be well camouflaged running around in my blue shirt.
Well, they've started off now, and let's go ahead and take a look at what is happening here. Skipjack is going to be playing Winston, so that is going to be the answer that we were talking about before the start of the match. Now, the control point hasn't actually unlocked yet. Both teams are going at each other. Skipjack goes down. Crew is crucially very, very low on Zarya. He often plays Genji himself, actually, so interesting to see Zaprion here, and Artia goes for a little bit of a dive into the snow. That's a nice snow angel at the bottom.
Yeah, that's not too fun, and we're going to see the Winstons doing very, very good work. Nice push off of the point there, as the objective will start to be claimed by Misfits. And I'm looking forward to seeing how Skipjack's going to be continuing to harass the push effort, or whether he's just going to wait a little bit and see if he can isolate a couple players and try to stagger the attack, which is definitely one way to break it up. See right now, just Zarya's throwing the balls, the plasma balls over the edge, and right now we have the effort made onto the point, applying some pressure there, forcing some players there from MISFITS to start jumping down and to try to contest that. And right now it's absolute madness as we have some of these ultimates getting popped. There's still a couple ultimates to go. There's Sound Barrier and Transcendence there for MISFITS, but it's not even needed. Look at this. Zachary is going absolutely mental with the Dragon Blade, and that is going to be that.
Zapri, actually a player that we didn't really mention very much in the build-up to this match. I was actually more expecting Crew to be on Genji here, but clearly not. And we don't actually have a Genji from the opposing team. It's worth noting that Creation Esports at the moment, they're sticking to some of their more traditional hero choices. Artia always on McCree, doing a fantastic job in the mustard colors there as well. Toxican actually taking on Lucio, and Bromas on Zarya. Bromas quite often has been on Lucio in the past as well. So a little bit of a switch up from Creation Esports here.
Bromas has the Graviton Surge ready, but it's going to be very hard to find a good engagement against MISFITS. If MISFITS are smart, they're going to be cognizant of the possibility for that Graviton Surge. They're going to try to spread themselves out, and there's not much to combine it with, and that's Creation getting wiped again. We get soon with 4 frags there from McCree. So right now MISFITS are running over Creation and their attempts to break the point. This is looking very, very dangerous indeed. There is not much in the way of ultimates to work with. A Transcendence, this is going to be good. Yeah,
Bromas switching on to Soldier 76 now. He is he's very, very good with the hit scan. And bear in mind, of course, he's doing this with the 1 hero limit because Artia is already on the McCree. This point on Nepal in particular, very, very powerful because you can position people all the way along. And you get a lot of crossfire opportunities into the center. So we'll see if he can make that work for him.
We get a nice little deadeye there from Artia to try to create some space, but that Graviton Surge, Crew was waiting, he finds his moments, and that is going to be very, very painful right there for Creation as they all get stuck together, and it is a wipeout, a 3rd wipe, and that is a big problem. The point is retaken, the overtime is going to tick down, and that's going to be, I believe, it's right there, and MISFITS will claim the point.
Wow, well, clearly without the Ghastly out in his back garden on his mind, Skipjack can focus entirely on the game here. And at the moment, don't forget these King of the Hills in this competitive format are best of 5, so they do have to win 3 of these King of the Hill capture points to take the map. And MISFITS currently 1 up.
It's funny as well because yesterday we were very adamant to try to avoid any talk of Pokemon, but we have been thrust into this situation with nowhere left to go.
No, I'm going to be taking the piss out of Skipjack like for the next month. This isn't stopping today.
Isn't it?
Yeah, this absolutely isn't stopping today. I will make sure of that. Also, what level is he? Anyway, never mind. We're going on to the second point now, of course. Creation want to try and even things up here. Soon is switching up, and he's going to be moving on to McCree. Dracaeus on Zenyatta here, so there is a little bit of acknowledgement of the new meta on the part of MISFITS, but not so much on Creation, who still haven't gone with a Genji.
And looking to try to create that first engagement there, it's going to be pretty difficult. It looks good to set up here from Creation, finding a nice little spot to go in and making life difficult here for MISFITS. We've got Link moving in with Reaper, actually not really contested at all right now, getting a lot of DPS done before finally being dealt with, and looking very good again. MISFITS are taking all the frags here, and they're going to have another fast take of the point.
So at the moment, Creation have just been playing a lot of individual battles there. Linksa has done all right on Reaper. There are a lot of little corners to hide behind on the Shrine Point here on Nepal. But also bear in mind, those corners are also great for Genji as well. You can climb up the walls and kill people there. And more importantly, because of the open nature of the map, I actually favor Genji's ultimate over Reaper's ultimate, unless there's a big team fight on the point. Where are the big team fights on the point? They're not here at the moment. It's all been one-on-ones all over the map.
Yeah, just a few heroes here trying to break the side and create distraction, but it looks like MISFITS are holding together pretty well. We get the bulk of the push coming in onto the point right now, but can they get the damage done? Artia's in there with McCree, but his teammates are falling around him, and without anybody to help him out here, he is a lone ranger, and now a very dead ranger as well, as we'll have MISFITS once again eliminating the push.
Indeed, and at the moment, we're lacking a little bit of stamina in the fights here for Creation Esports. Bromas, interestingly though, he's going the opposite direction. He was on Zarya at one point, and he's actually going to move to Tracer. So Creation taking the opposite tack. They're saying we need to DPS and win this fight quickly rather than go for the longevity. We'll see if this pays off for them. Toxican initiating with an ultimate there. We have Graviton Surge and Transcendence both coming down now as well. And at the moment, it looks like the first 2 kills are going to be going the way of Creation, so it does seem to be paying off to them in the short term. That was a big gamble, though, because when you see, guys, we actually can't survive very long in these fights, what are we going to do? Oh, we'll switch to something that does less hit points and does more damage. If you say so.
It's very nice. Again, first time I think we've seen the Tracer really. Of course, it is so good in King of the Hill. Now,
I mean, I do like the choice of Tracer as well. This point is known a little bit as Tracer's playground because there are so many great places to dart in and out of, and it just makes the threat of Pulse Bomb that much better. But it's an interesting choice, and it has actually paid off really well for Creation, to be fair to them.
yeah, and it's always going to be interesting how you try to deal with the Tracer, and there is of course Soon, who is on the McCree, so the flashbang is going to be pretty invaluable in stopping Tracer and Tracer's shenanigans. I wonder how hard they're going to go on that, because it is something you need to try to dedicate someone to deal with. And well, MISFITS, the problem for them as well is that they don't actually have much in the way of ultimates going in. Crew is very far away from his Graviton Surge, which would be very useful in this stage, so they're going to have to get it done elsewise. Elsewise? With something else.
In fact, elsewise. I can roll with that. Zapri now moving on with the blade. He's going to see if he can chop a couple of dudes up. Gets Dracaeus as an initial kill. Bromas also going down there, doing an incredible job. Finds Reaper, looking for him. He sees Wraith Form, and he's like, yeah, it doesn't matter about that. Links are going down as well. I don't feel like Linkser has actually been too influential on Reaper, but crucially, I don't think the changes that Creation have made, aside from Bromas going on to Tracer, have done them any favors this map so far. I feel like they've stuck to a composition that they maybe win with in practice, but they haven't responded that fluently to MISFITS yet.
And it is problematic now because Crew is in a spot where he can actually build up a lot of charge. He can try to get that ultimate running in as they go for the defense of this point. And we get the push coming in. The Death Blossom is going to completely whip everything, dealt with very handily by Crew, as we have MISFITS on a pretty solid defense in this point. And again, it's very problematic. They're on the home stretch right now. They have all the ultimates building up. And right now, Creation need to get this done now.
And it's proving more difficult because, unfortunately, the deaths are scattered for Creation as well. They're dying kind of 1-2 at a time, and it means that they're coming back 1-2 at a time as well. That gives MISFITS control of the second point as well. And, interestingly, I was under the impression this would be a best of 5 on the King of the Hill. So we'll get confirmation from that in just a second. I wonder if we're going to be popping back. Yeah.
All right, so it looks like we're just going to be popping in and doing the third capture point as well.
We do get a nice play of the game, actually, to start things off. Absolutely no problem at all.
That's a bonus. We get the king. We get the king of the play is actually what I was about to say, but we get the play of the game, and that was a pretty sick Deadeye. Again, on that point in the middle of Nepal, basically in the, well, we have the shrine, so I guess that's kind of like the septum, where the crossfire capabilities from McCree, from the likes of Soldier 76, and I guess now from support from afar, maybe even from places like Zenyatta as well, can often be very, very powerful. No Roadhog, sadly, so no hooks into the abyss.
That's always very sad. But it was really cool to see that MISFITS had such a great success rate on taking the first point on both maps. You know, that's always so hard, because then with the wipe, they get all the time to set up. It's going to be very hard to then break that, and you can build so much in the way of well, you can almost get to like 60 to 80% like pretty consistently for a lot of teams. And in that case, we saw the MISFITS were able to do that both times before finally there was a break. And especially on the first map, as you said, you can create so many crossfires. It's just generally so hard to deal with, especially if you have a lot of skilled players. And then the longer it goes on, the worse it gets for you, because you start to lose that charge battle of the ultimates as well. So, I mean, was there something there that you felt like could have been done better against MISFITS? I mean, they did go for some switches there. We saw the Tracer. It seemed only good for one attack, and it was kind of solved by MISFITS.
Yeah, I think what MISFITS did very well is respond to Creation. Each time Creation actually swapped up their team composition, they got a little bit of purchase against MISFITS. For example, when Bromas moved on to Soldier 76 in the Septum, you can see a little bit of crossfire capability there. Okay, it didn't unfortunately win them the point or anything like that, but MISFITS had to adjust. Similarly, when the same player actually moved on to Tracer in the Shrine, MISFITS had some time they needed to adapt. And the quick nature of that attack coming out, something they didn't anticipate, and they actually got wiped first before they came back. The problem is, every time Creation has swapped it up, MISFITS have responded instantly, and Creation have been slow to respond themselves. And that's kind of where this has taken us so far as this King of the Hill is concerned. Creation, I don't feel like they're swapping on and off their heroes and identifying the threats they need to deal with have been quite as fluent as MISFITS here.
I think there's a coordination issue as well, especially on the second King of the Hill there. I mean, we saw loads of spots where, you know, once again we had the Tracer switch, it worked to allow them to take the point. And as you mentioned, the quick adjustment from MISFITS. Yep. Then all of a sudden we started to see engagements where there were too many one-on-ones, or they were split up too easily, and they weren't able to synergize correctly. Whilst the other team, MISFITS, were always able to get, you know, more players in these engagements. It's always like a 3v2 or a 4v2, something similar to that when they're trying to break in the side and so on. So that coordination didn't quite pan out. I mean, again, I guess it's just very good experience from MISFITS and understanding how to basically position themselves for the defense. So, I mean, that's something that MISFITS seem to be pretty good on. I mean, I'm feeling really good for them to take this.
I think right now it's up to Creation to change something up. MISFITS are perfectly fine sitting where they are, and they're like, actually, this is great. A good example of potential improvements, for instance, Linksa is fantastic on Reaper, and he does an incredible job. But if you take a look at the shrine level of Nepal, it's just a massive, vast, open area, which means Reaper can sort of duck around corners, and that's great. But there weren't big team fights in the middle. Death Blossom wasn't going to be super effective. What we needed to see was something that was better in those one-on-one engagements. And ultimately, there was a Genji for MISFITS. And conveniently, when Dragon Blade came out, it didn't matter that all of Creation Esports weren't on the point and they were scattered around in different places. You dash over, kill one, dash back, kill two. And almost every time we saw Dragon Blade utilized, 2 or 3 heroes were going down. I can't say the same for Death Blossom, unfortunately.
Oh yeah, no, we actually saw quite the whiff with it actually. So it was flying in, and there were a lot of spots there. Again, actually, when Tracer finally got the ultimate, maybe convincing them to stick with Tracer despite there being an adjustment because you want to get that ultimate charge to good use. There was no spot. He could not find a spot to actually use it. There was a lot of issues there for Creation. Let's see if they can remedy things here as we go on to the 3rd point.
All right, so we're going to be moving on back in here, guys. Now, we have technically remade the game, so please note that Creation Esports are currently playing in red and MISFITS in blue. So with that in mind, MISFITS are currently 2-0 ahead. A lot going on in the kind of dojo stage here of Nepal. I guess RNGesus has been kind to us and given us the capture point that we were looking at, and a lot of kills have registered initially on the side of Creation Esports. They're going to be able to take this. Note, by the way, Numlocked is now playing Reaper, which is interesting. You don't see this very often.
And this is the first time Creation were able to take the point first, and I think there is a lot of value in that. They just have to try to understand how to track their opponents and deal with the attack, because there's a lot of ways routes you can actually take on this map, of course, like most maps, and we're going to see the big push coming in on the top, on the side, as it's all about this defense here from Creation. Can they get it working? They're so far actually keeping the DPSs in a good place, in good positions, but finally Artie is going to be challenged, unable to do that much. Genji's on him at the moment. Can he actually keep surviving? Looks like he's going to be able to get the frag. Very nicely done there by Artie, keeping himself alive, and he's doing yet more work here. And they actually invested a lot to take him down. There's another frag, and that is a beautiful play.
So what I was going to say before that happened was that Zapri was kind of everywhere, and he was more or less keeping Numlocked and Archer in check. And he also killed off Bromas. So it felt like one player was dealing with all of the DPSs from Creation Esports, and then Archer basically went, yeah, I've had a really good breakfast today. I kind of feel like now's the time to just absolutely own it up. And he took it upon himself to kill off all the tanks in addition to Zapri. So really nice bit of individual skill, but I do want to highlight the Genji is keeping Creation Esports very, very occupied at the moment, and that's the one thing I would be worried about.
We just saw a very nice wipe there from Creation onto MISFITS, where grabs on Surge, Tracer Sticky Bomb, goodbye. See you later. Try again.
Easy peasy.
Yeah, that's going to buy them a lot of time. That's a really key engagement, because we can see that they're already almost up to 80% now. That is a big problem, but in comes Zapri there. The sound barrier plus a Dragon Blade has been unsheathed, as he tries to find an engagement right now, but he can't quite do it. The Transcendence has been popped there by Creation to add some survivability amongst all the ultimates of MISFITS, and so far, so good actually for MISFITS. Able to get onto the point there and make it the kills they needed to make and force the remaining survivors back to regroup.
That was very interesting. I mean, they needed to do that. That would have been... I think they're actually now putting themselves in the driving seat to potentially win it out 3-0. Creation did a very good job of holding on to their advantage at the beginning, but it can be difficult with the high ground advantage now. We have a very, very quick Graviton Surge right in the middle of the point, so this is a great example of some DPS damage getting, but there wasn't the follow-up there. Bromas didn't actually have Actually, we didn't have any DPS in terms of area of effect, and as a result, the Graviton Surge didn't do too much on the point. A little bit unfortunate to start things off there from Misfits.
Yeah, all about the Zaryas, their crew doing some work. And now Creation are going to be the ones to have to regroup and retry. And they do have some ultimates to do it with. And speaking of Zarya, they do have that potential combination of Graviton Surge plus the Sticky Bomb. But again, if Misfits are smart, they're going to realize that those two ultimates are up, and that could be the play from Misfits.
Oh, and here we go. Graviton Surge to start things off. But we have Transcendence, by the way, that's being used at the same time to try and counter that. Will successfully do that. Numlock goes down in the meantime, though. And wow, Crew absolutely going to town on Zarya underneath. He gets 2 kills of his own. And Skipjack on Winston takes out Dracaeus in the meantime. So cutting the legs off as far as support for that team is concerned. And once again, Misfits managed to hold. They're still at 70% versus the 90% of Creation. But it's all about the momentum in this matchup.
Oh yeah, and all the ultimates have burned as well. So where do you go from here? We've got the sound barrier there for Misfits still alive, and that's basically the only ultimate combined with Skipjack as well. And here you go, we've got the push coming in there. The Deadeye is going to be engaged by Artie as he tries to just clear some space for his teammates to get in onto the point. And he has bought them the point, or the contestation of the point, but that is a fantastic flashbang there, dropping in. Nice follow-ups coming in from Soon. Gets himself a third one as well, maybe even some more. This is great damage done by Misfits. All the ultimates to burn as well. This is a complete wipeout.
This isn't the Genji show anymore. This is the McCree show. We've had some fantastic play from Artia and from Soon so far in this King of the Hill match. Nepal is really serving us up a treat. It's 99 versus 99 overtime. And don't forget, for Misfits, this is playing for all of the marbles. They're 2-0 up in this best of 5 so far, and they want to make that 3. Creation are fighting to stay in, but they can't quite do it. What a point on Nepal that was.
McCree. Oh, yes.
It's not all about the Genji, man. I mean, look, when Genji is played well, it can be all about the Genji. But the same can be said for an awful lot of heroes in Overwatch history. Take a look at previous metas. When it was all about Widowmaker, oh, wow, it's fantastic that they got a quad kill there. When it was all about Pharah, when it was all about Soldier, yesterday it was McCree. Yesterday it was Genji, and today it is a lot of McCree. That was some really good stuff coming up both from Soon and from Artia. This incredible bit of individual skill turns around and goes, oh, Zarya's here as well? Yeah, all right, I'll have you then. Why not?
Yeah, that was just so fantastic. It was a very nice way to finish things off, showing that they have the individual skill to really back them up if they get backed into a corner. And here it is once again, Soon just wrecking everybody, and that is going to be a very nice way for them to go into the second map, which is going to be Lijiang Tower. So that's going to be tough right now. I mean, it's going to be hard to...
It's not, it can't be... Look, those are the 3 maps. This is the one situation where Creation Esports have to be sitting back going, well, we did kind of want to play some King of the Hill, but we got thoroughly outplayed 3-0 there. The 3rd map in our pool is King's Row. I will be shocked if Creation don't pick King's Row to follow up from this. And we've just had confirmation it's King's Row.
That's good.
I mean, I did want to see double King of the Hill, but because of the way that played out, Creation couldn't have picked anything else. If that ended up going all the way to the 5th point, and Misfits won 3-2, and Creation are relatively happy with the way they played, I can see Lijiang being the next map. As things stand, they have to switch it up.
That's good. Love a bit of King's Row. We've had many King's Rows already. I think it is time to take a quick break. We'll be back with King's Row between these two teams, so stay tuned. We'll be right back.